Welcome back to another episode of Toon Talk TV, the top animated podcast on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, be sure and like, follow, and subscribe. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/wearethetelevision. We got a nice little, I don't know how I would describe this, intergalactic episode for you today, because this episode kind of like fried mixed brain. This was insane. Bob, you picked this one. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll let you start with it.
This one was a bit of a drug trip. This one was called Today I Will Be the Bread. And I don't know to qualify this as art or fart, because I feel like it was I don't know if they had any purpose behind this whatsoever other than just to please someone who's doing drugs. I mean, there's so much amazing animation in this piece that it's obvious that this person is very talented at animation and art. It's hard to say if there was meaning behind the piece, but sometimes that's okay. I was thinking today we can go back to the segment of dumbasses dissecting high art. What do you guys think?
Love it, dude.
Let's do it.
Dumbasses dissecting high art. All right, so Today I Will Be the Bread is by Andy Cahill. Cahill. We're gonna go
Kal-El.
Cahill. Like Superman. Kal-El.
Yeah.
So it's by Andy. Music by Eve Essex, and it's quite a piece. It's constantly moving. It's 20 minutes long. The animation that they put out before this was 14 years ago. So I would say that they were working on this piece for quite a bit, and it's very obvious to me.
Before we get too in the weeds with explaining what we think is happening scene to scene, I do have a assumption or guess on maybe why this animation was done this certain way or how it was done this certain way. And it did inspire me a lot. But just to talk about the animation style, my assumption is that it was done with straight ahead animation. And animation can be done two ways. And not a lot of people do it this way with straight ahead animation, where generally how we have done it and how stories have done it, it's pose to pose, where you make a storyboard and then you make one pose of a human and then the next key pose, essentially a comic book, so you know what's happening, but without animating every single frame in between that. Well, I have a guess that this was just straight ahead. So he started with a form and animated each frame, and it got him to the next place, and then got him to the next place, where that type of animation turns into just like as you said, a drug trip, where it's just like morphing into new things and changing into new things. But then the other characteristic about this was the music and soundtrack was so heavily in it. Maybe they did it straight ahead animation to a soundtrack, where they were listening to certain aspects of the song or audio that played with it, and just animated something new at that point, But that's just my guess. I think that was how it was done, but it's just a cool way of going about it.
What you're describing there in the writer side of thing is like stream of consciousness writing, where you really don't have a end goal, but you're just writing, and whatever comes to your head goes on the next line, the next sentence, the next
I love it.
Well, I will say, I even to tie that into the subject matter of the animation, I feel like this was a lot about ego and the id, which is very similar to what you guys are saying with stream of consciousness. It's kind of just following your impulse and your pleasure stimulus rather than leading to any logical reason behind it. But forget about
that.
Dissect it. Let's dissect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So this started out with a naked man that lives at the top of a cage, looks out into the empty nature around him, and smokes a ghost smoke. His cat wanders out of the cage. Now, I do want you guys to kind of dissect that, but I'm going to say this first. This was a long one.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. So for the sake of timeliness, these got to be rapid fire answers.
You wake up, this is their world. This is their familiar. This is where existence and consciousness exists, and this is their familiarity. The waking up and this realm that we're seeing where he smokes, this is what he does daily.
I think he just wakes up and smokes doobs every day.
Okay, cool.
I think that's what Andy's doing.
Yeah.
This is our buddy John Searcher waking up on his balcony, smokes a doob, naked, ghost.
There we go.
The spiritual essence of him going.
There we go. In the second minute, Cat waits for a piece of fruit to fall from a tree, knocked out by a bug. Cat slaps the fruit into a puddle, and a face descends from the sky to eat and spit out the fruit, just to remind the man that the time continues to pass as he continues to smoke.
This is the human body. This is us. We are the fruit. We're falling down. This is our journey now.
Fred, are we the fruit?
No, I think we are the cat, and the fruit is pleasure. You know, our desire. You know, and God is telling us no.
You guys are both wrong. Everything else, everything else is just this guy is getting high. And he's starting to slowly get lost in his surroundings. He remembers the time through the ticking. Moving on.
Sure. Bob knows art. Let's go.
That's what this segment is really called.
Yeah, Bob knows art. Yeah.
All right. The man moves to his bed and really begins to get enhanced senses of touch, smell, sound, and taste, and then drifts off and begins to dream of two holy beings. The one opens its mouth and lets out an ethereal sound. The ghost smoke man oozes out of the holy being and into the mouth of the one that has just made the sound.
Oh, I fucking love this part. Wait, is this when the thing was sleeping and it just came out of his nose and went back into his mouth? Like,
not quite there.
Okay, all right.
It's after he was sleeping. The ghost kind of he basically falls asleep, and then you see the spiral with the two little, like, when I say holy, I don't mean like godly. I mean like literal holes through them.
Two little hole things.
The two little hole things.
Yeah.
Mick,
yeah.
tell us what this means.
One that was Bob getting a little cozy in bed, and they showed the tiny little peen.
They did.
Accurate.
That
dude.
was Bob.
Accurate.
That was
that
Bob.
wouldn't be accurate. That wouldn't be accurate. That wouldn't be accurate.
That's Bob right there.
This was us transitioning from the journey of life to the journey of death. So we're starting in one essence, being spit out and reborn again in the afterlife in another hole.
Deep. You're getting real deep. Fred, what does it mean?
What? Just keep going. Pass.
Okay. All right.
Pass.
All right. We follow the man into the head of this being and watch as they become the bread.
Today, I will be the bread.
The bread falls back out its mouth right in front of the sleeping man and watches him sleep and dream. The bread then is sucked into a house that this man has dreamt up, and we follow the bread through the dream portal, passing a ton of household items all the way to an empty dreamscape where a robed or pajamaed man stands alone. The bread falls on top of him.
The little old man is Father Time, and he is guiding us to the next journey in life.
Oh yeah. And the bread is is exactly what we think it, or what we say in life is you got to make the bread, you know. The bread is the money, you know.
You think so?
I think he is his job, you know.
You think?
Yeah.
That's good. That's deep.
Because I'm gonna say the total opposite. I think he's mayoing out right here. I think he's becoming the bread and pushing away the ego and falling into the id to truly just see what it is the core of their being, to get lost in the unconsciousness opposed to the logical real world of the bread, the money making.
Oh, I like that. So it's kind of like a they're toying with the idea of bread by saying the opposite, you know? There's
Today they became the bread.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. The man pushes the bread and walks away. The bread curiously follows, picks a fruit on the way, and when doing so, the man makes a weird face and sound as this layer of face pops off and attaches to a flower. The man reaches a teeter-totter, sits at one end, and places his lit candle in the middle of it. The bread places the fruit on his head and sits at the other end.
Finding balance.
Ooh, I like it. Tell me more.
We are the flickering flame in the middle, and we must find balance, or else risk being extinct.
Wow.
Head blown.
Wow, Mick.
Bob's starting to understand art. Mick knows
Mick,
it already. Mick
I didn't
knows
know
that.
you were such a freaking artist, man. You're deep, dude. All right. So the teeter-totter moves back and forth. The bread passes the fruit over the flame to the man on the other side, and the motion of the teeter-totter ignites the flame into a giant flame beam that flies off into the sky and takes the fruit with them. It zips around it in a trippy fashion, examining the fruit.
Fred, I'll let you take this one.
So who's examining the fruit again?
The flame being that it's ignited into the air from the candle.
We are now deep in consciousness. The finding balance was a meditation, and this is when your consciousness is looking at your thought, looking at your inner thoughts.
If we are the flame, we are now this. If fruit is that temptation, we are now deciding if we're going to take that temptation or stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Camera zips in to the fruit that becomes the nose of a man. The nose slides off like a worm, leaving a stamp of its face where it moves, and then grows like vines outside of someone's window. This someone closes his blinds to the sight and looks under his shirt to see the face stamp on their belly button. He inserts his finger into its mouth as it cries like a baby. At this point, the nose worm is moving throughout the house with the man.
This is us succumbing to temptation. We failed. We took the fruit. We ate it. Now it's in our DNA. The sin.
Like every man.
Sin.
Like every man.
Yeah, sin. Yeah,
Yes, it's impossible to not give in to temptation.
Exactly.
Okay, he looks back outside and sees shapes turn into bread. The bread floats to him and enters the mouth of the stamp on his belly that opens its mouth and makes an ethereal sound. The bread then transforms into shapes in the void where we find the naked man from the beginning on a stool, blindfolded, next to a clock in a small room. The nose worm thing enters the room and makes an annoying sound, like buzzing from a light fixture, as the man peeks through his blindfold to look. Then a hand enters and the man peeks at it too.
This is, again, now it's sin has turned into capitalism, and capitalism is telling him, you are the bread. Now I must make money off of you.
Yes, multiple bodies have now just succumbed. They are now becoming the bread. You know, you just do your
knows.
work. Do your work.
Fred knows.
Okay, this one's weird. I'm not expecting anyone to know what happens next. I'm going to read this out to the end.
Oh,
And well, unless you
wait,
have something you want
Is this where the dog looking thing and the thing on top are like walking on this like globe? And
No, that's at the end. That's at the
Okay,
very
all
end.
right.
But
Oh, all right,
I'm
right.
just going to join the last 2 minutes in one giant stanza, and then you guys could tell me.
Sure.
Do it.
The hand points. The man smiles and stops peeking. Another hand enters and slaps the man into a weird scene of more bread, and the hand becomes his head. He watches the nose worm crawl through a slice of bread, which he also grabs with his hand head and feeds that to another slice of bread, which proceeds to blow it like a bubble in an infinity loop of blowing bubbles from that bubble, which occurs until it pops. Well, first it fills the screen and then it pops. This pop wakes up the man, and a never-ending assembly line of face-stamped fruit balls start leaving the man's mouth and bounce up to the roof of the cage, where two Dr. Seuss-looking characters eat them, crap them out, and eat them again. The end.
As much as we don't want to be, and as much as we refuse, we I am the bread. You are the bread. We all living on this globe, this earth. We are all the bread. We are our jobs. We are unwillingly as we want. We are the bread.
Oh man.
I could not have said it any better, Fred. I mean, this is this whole tune was just a play on capitalism, that capitalism rules all. And
I can't believe
all
we
it
got
does
here.
is
Yeah.
churn out
We really
bread.
did it.
It just churns out bread, and we have to be the bread.
Parts like specifically from an artist standpoint or just like visually interesting standpoint, that last shot was one of the coolest, strippiest things I've seen. Like
It really was.
character wise, it was super cool.
And tell me if you guys agree here, but I feel like from the beginning of the animation to the end of the animation, the artist Andy got better, and it was visibly.
He probably did. It probably took that
noticeable.
long, you know?
Yeah, I know. And that last scene was just like the cherry on top. I felt like that was the coolest thing to look at.
Yeah.
It was very cool. And the ween size stayed the same to a T, Bob. To
Yep.
a T.
Not quite my ween. My
Bobby
ween's
Teeny
a-
Ween. That's what we
Bobby Teeny
no one,
Ween.
no
Bobby
one says
Teeny
that.
Ween.
No
That's
one
we-
says that.
We say that.
No
We
one
call you
says
that.
that.
Everyone calls you that.
No one
Yeah,
says
yeah,
that. No one says that. Moving on.
Final thoughts. The final thoughts. Bob, wrap this up in this a nice little bow for the viewers.
I thought it was amazing. I thought that even if an artist doesn't have an idea, sometimes an unconscious idea oozes out of an art piece like this. When you put that amount of time into anything, it becomes something bigger than what you had planned in the start. What do you guys feel?
Agreed.
I like that.
Yeah. I think it is. I mean, especially for the length that this thing is, probably the time and blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. Minimal dialogue. I thought it was fantastic. We will link this tune in the description below. Go check it out. Congratulate Andy on his work. Be sure and like and follow, subscribe for us. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/wearethetelevision. Go buy some mugs and catch our next tune.
We are the television.